The first rays of sunlight slid through the thin curtains and painted soft gold lines across the guest room. Amelia blinked against the brightness, disoriented for half a second before the previous night came flooding back. The gunshots, the chaos, Lorenzo's jacket heavy over her shoulders. She sat up slowly, running a hand through her hair. The house was quiet now, that strange kind of quiet that comes after a storm. She slipped on a sweater, padded out into the hallway, and paused when she saw Lorenzo leaning against the wall opposite her door. Half awake, messy-haired, a cup of coffee in his hand. He was still in yesterday's shirt, sleeves rolled up, a gun holstered at his back. But somehow he looked more like a mischievous college boy than the sharp Mafia heir she'd seen commanding men hours ago. "You look terrible," she said before she could stop herself. He cracked one eye open and smirked. "Good morning to you too, sunshine. You snore. By the way, I do not," she shot back, heat creeping up her neck. "Sure," he said, sipping his coffee with exaggerated nonchalance. It sounded like a tiny chainsaw, very intimidating. She crossed her arms. "You're insufferable this early in the morning. And yet, you're talking to me," he teased. "So either you secretly like me, or I'm just that charming." She rolled her eyes but couldn't suppress the tiny smile that tugged at her lips. "Neither." He pushed off the wall, suddenly more awake, and gestured toward the kitchen. "Come on. If you're going to insult me properly, you'll need caffeine." They walked through the house together, the morning sunlight spilling across marble floors. Guards were stationed at the entrances, but the tension had eased. The night's attackers had vanished without another shot. The kitchen was warm and smelled like freshly baked bread. It felt almost normal. Lorenzo handed her a mug, their fingers brushing briefly. She pulled back quickly, pretending not to notice the spark that shot through her. He noticed, of course he did. "So," he said, leaning against the counter, "how does the princess feel after her first real night in the trenches?" She narrowed her eyes at him over the rim of her mug. "Surprisingly alive, thanks to my own instincts." "Not because of you," he grinned. "Ah, denial. It's cute on you." She huffed out a laugh despite herself. "You are impossible. And you," he said, pointing at her with his coffee spoon, "are fun when you stop pretending you hate everything." The banter softened something between them. For the first time since this engagement had been arranged, they weren't playing their usual roles quite so rigidly. She wasn't just the grumpy daughter of one Mafia boss, and he wasn't just the flirtatious son of another. They were two people in the kitchen, half awake, half teasing, and strangely at ease. The moment stretched, quiet but not uncomfortable. She glanced at him, catching him mid-yawn. His hair was sticking up in ridiculous directions. "You look like you lost a fight with your pillow," she said. Bold words from someone wearing fuzzy socks. He countered immediately. She looked down. She had in fact put on the socks with little stars on them. "They're warm," she muttered. "They're adorable," he said lightly, and when she looked back up, he wasn't teasing. He meant it. The compliment hung in the air, unexpected, and she found herself looking away to hide the smile tugging at her mouth. Antonio's voice suddenly echoed from the hallway, calling for Lorenzo. He sighed dramatically. "Duty calls. Try not to miss me. Don't trip on the way," she shot back. He winked as he walked away, leaving her alone with her coffee and a heart that was beating just a little faster than it should have been. The rest of the morning unfolded slowly. She wandered into the garden, now buzzing with men repairing the fence and setting new security cameras. She caught sight of Lorenzo at a distance, deep in conversation with one of his lieutenants, gesturing sharply toward a map. He looked different like this, serious, focused. There was no smirk, no flirt, just the weight of someone raised to lead in a dangerous world. She didn't expect him to notice her watching, but he did. His gaze flicked to hers, and for a brief second, something unspoken passed between them, a silent acknowledgement that neither of them could escape what they'd been born into. But maybe, just maybe, they didn't have to do it alone. Later, when the house calmed again, she found herself in the library, curled into an armchair with a book she wasn't really reading. Lorenzo appeared at the doorway like a shadow. "Hiding. Thinking," she corrected. He sauntered in, hands in his pockets. "About how lucky you are to have me. About how loud you are for someone who's supposed to be stealthy," she replied. He laughed softly and, to her surprise, sat down on the floor near her chair, back against the wall. It was oddly domestic, like two people who'd known each other far longer than they actually had. She glanced down at him. "Why are you sitting there?" "Because if I sit next to you, you'll make some sarcastic comment. This way, I'm safe," he said, tilting his head back against the wall. She snorted, shaking her head. But a few minutes later, when he leaned his head to the side, and asked quietly, "You okay?" it caught her off guard. No teasing, no smirk, just a simple, genuine question. She hesitated, then nodded slowly. "I think so." He smiled faintly. "Good, because I need my partner alive. And also, it's kind of nice not arguing for 5 minutes." She laughed softly at that, closing her book. "Don't get used to it. Too late," he murmured. They sat there in companionable silence, the weight between them shifting in subtle ways. Not enemies, not yet lovers, something in between, messy, unexpected, and real.